Hello, and welcome to another episode of Hacking with Friends. My name is Kody Kinsey. I am a security researcher at Whonix, and today my co-host is James. James, what do you have to say for yourself?
Gosh, I hate to be back here so soon. Oh, gosh.
So James is a software developer and also a cybersecurity student. Would you describe yourself as?
Hopefully. That's the plan.
And he is coming back on by very popular demand to show us a little bit about Qubes OS.
Qubes? You mean Qubes?
Oh, I'm sorry. I've just always heard people pronounce it Qubes. Anyway,
Qubes.
So a lot of people were talking about how great Qubes is. And really, if I need to talk to my guy about, Qubes, I got one person who's I would consider a Qubes expert, and that is my friend James here. So James, would you like to explain to these fine people why you love Qubes so much?
Well, so Qubes is a really good tool. I didn't even mean to say it. Qubes is a really good tool for privacy by compartmentalization and in turn security as well.
And we should be explicit, this is an operating system that we're talking about today. We're back on hacking operating systems.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so if you are a hacker or if you like privacy, then this would be a good operating system to check out. James, can you explain why this is different from what we showed off last time?
So Whonix was an operating system that was designed to run in a VM, where Qubes is actually an operating system that is designed to run VMs. So I don't know how to say this correctly, but just rushing over the documentation, I don't see the actual thing I'm looking for. So the way it works is you actually run on a Xen hypervisor. So you have you have really good virtualization, really good performance, and you have a lot of virtual machines, and the idea is they all do different things and everything's isolated from each other. So it's secure.
So is this similar to, in any way, to things people might be familiar with, like Kubernetes or Docker or some stuff like that?
Yes and no. I don't want to comment too much on that because I'm not extremely familiar with those systems, but yeah, those use virtualization, I think, so ish.
I just asked because I know Docker was pitched to us as a way of running applications or other things in a way that's totally isolated and is kind of safer than just having an environment that's sharing resources for a particular program to run. So that's been kind of a model of privacy and security, I know, for a while, to isolate as many processes as you can and try to make them so that they run consistently and in a way that's separated from other processes.
Yeah, so I think this is separated at a lower level than that. If my understanding of Docker is correct and my understanding of the way Qubes works is correct. So it's sort of like that, but I think you're running on the hypervisor. So even you're you have sort of a base machine that you then launch all the other ones from, and those are the ones that you actually do stuff in. But I think they're all just virtualized on top of bare metal, basically. So
oh, cool. Okay, so there's no middleman in that case.
No, you're not kind of like running an OS and then virtualization layer and then more virtualization. I think you're just virtualization, virtual machines.
Cool. So what kind of person would find this operating system better than Whonix or something like that? I mean, obviously, it seems like somebody who wants to install this, maybe on hardware rather than just having it run on a USB stick or something, would be an obvious first choice.
Slightly different kind of use case there. So while Whonix is kind of a thing that you would run in a VM, you would run Whonix inside of this, and it's actually one of the built-in kind of template VMs in Qubes. So we can look at that later. But type of people that use it, who uses it? We have Snowden, this guy, these people that I don't recognize. I recognize Snowden though. So big smart people use this. Smart people in certain ways with respect to certain things, at least.
All right, so we have the benefit of being able to isolate things even more than we would be able to in Whonix. So that's cool. What kind of hardware do you need in order to run this, or are there any special requirements that the average person would need in order to just get started with this project?
Yeah, so there are a couple of hardware requirements. I think we can talk more about hardware later when we're going through the install process of my setup specifically, but to kind of go over it, basically, I think most modern hardware has this, but with older hardware, you might need to be careful. So you need Intel VX or AMD's equivalent. You need Intel VTD, which is memory virtualization, I think, or AMD's equivalent. But this is all listed on the website. So Qubes has really nice documentation. So
Okay, that's good. And in general, I found that people who have never tried virtualization before, sometimes depending on the computer you're using, this can actually be a setting that's locked down in BIOS. I didn't know this because I use a Mac OS computer, and to me, that's like crazy. But having done like workshops where we're using virtualization, there are some computers that like, if you're gonna try something like this, you need to go in and actually enable virtualization in BIOS, which again, don't know why that's a thing, but some computers have that locked down, and I found that to be necessary in some cases. So just throwing that out there.
It's good that you mentioned that, because I think in like most cases that's what the deal is, and I kind of forget about it because you do it once and then it's on. But yeah, good point.
Yeah. So if you're having a hard time following along, or if you're doing this later and it's just not working, then that could be something to look at. Some computers in BIOS just have that lockdown. So good to know. Cool. So let's go ahead and switch over to your screen, and we can get started taking a look at the documentation for Qubes. Oh, sorry, Qubes.
Qubes. You slipped left. So you come to the nice page, and you have your kind of install details and various kind of advertisement stuff. It says kind of what it runs on and who it's for. But if we just go to the documentation page, where does it take us? It brings us to here with the kind of overall thing, and then if we wanted to say install it, there's a nice installation guide. So what you would do to install it, I don't want to like obviously go through the whole thing because we'd be here far too long, but you download the ISO. Hopefully you verify it with their keys and the signatures and stuff, because if you're running and operating this system this secure, you probably kind of care about that level of security.
And you're also probably more of a target, because anybody that's looking to secure their communications probably has some communications to secure. So when we look at things like supply chain attacks, like just happened with SolarWinds, a lot of the time, if you're downloading a third-party piece of software and you're not sure if the website's been compromised, or even your local network's been compromised to cause you to download a backdoored version of that file, then making sure to check the hash is pretty much the only way to know for sure that the file hasn't been modified since it's been released from the publisher. It'd be real dumb to like pick a really great secure operating system and then just get backdoored like by a supply chain attack.
Yeah, download a infected. Yeah, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Make sure you know what you're doing. But yeah, so on Windows, the application to use would be Rufus, and to make your install media, something just blacked. Okay, everything should be back now. So you need a USB drive. USB 2 will work. USB 3 will install faster. Mine isn't plugged in right now, but essentially I think it's just default settings on here. Then the only thing is you need to set it to DD mode, which it says in the installation guide. So everything is like all there, but just to kind of briefly go over it, that's what you would do.
And in this step, you're just converting the ISO file into like a bootable media so you can install it via USB? Okay, got it.
So we're not going to install it on this computer. We have a new capture card. So should we switch over to the laptop?
Yeah, we should. Let's do it.
So maybe, yes. So it has a nice graphical installer, which is kind of surprising because less secure operating systems have harder install processes. But
so this is not, you're telling me this isn't
it's not Arch.
Yeah, it's
not Arch.
Okay, but to catch everyone up, to get to this step, you would need to use Rufus, or if you were on a Mac OS system, oh my God, I'm blanking on the name of the program, but I'll remember it in a second. Use something to write it to a bootable drive. Then on your donor computer, like boot it, change the boot order so it loads from the USB drive, and then you would wind up on the screen, right? Or am I missing any steps?
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily change the boot order. You just have to select it.
Okay.
But yeah, that works too. So you get this screen with your kind of language selection. So we'll just hit continue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Aren't you meaning to drop that down to the UK? Aren't there going to be some confusing flavors? Otherwise,
flavors. No, actually, I've resisted the UK keyboard layout.
how
And
else will you
whenever
defend your honor?
Whenever I buy a keyboard, I buy it in the US purely because I despise the UK keyboard layout. So, yeah, so this is all kind of default. I don't know if there's settings in here that are useful. I mean, you can look around. So this is like one of the templates. So as I kind of briefly touched on earlier, there's template virtual machines, which we can go into more detail on in a bit. But so you can have, I think the default ones are Fedora and Whonix, and then you can optionally install here Debian. So those are the kind of virtual machines you'll be running in your operating systems. So you can choose to not install Debian there if you wanted to, which I don't know. I like Debian.
I like Debian a lot too, especially coming from Kali. Like all the commands work like exactly the same way, and it's a little bit less like guardrailsy than Ubuntu is.
Yeah, Kali and Ubuntu are both based on Debian, so if that's the sort of thing you're used to, that may be a bit of an easier switch compared to Fedora, which isn't a ton different, but yeah. So here we're not actually going to partition this because we already have that set up. We've already done the first stage because it takes a while, but yeah, so ideally, like if you were overwriting an existing hard drive here, you would kind of reclaim the space, delete the existing partitions is what you'd be doing. So you'd lose your data if you had other stuff on this hard drive, or if you have a new hard drive, then you can just install it onto there. You can do your manual partitioning, and you can full disk encrypt the thing with LUKS, Luks. I don't know a lot about the different encryption things, but
it's a great way to lose all your data. I've done it before. It's very secure, but sometimes if the keys get reset, then there you go.
This handles it all for you, so it would ask you for a password at some point. But
hey, I've got a stupid question. Would this run on like a computer like a Raspberry Pi that is using a different processor?
Very good question. Probably not, but I could be wrong.
Just interesting to think of, because I've seen a setup where you'll have a bunch of different operating systems on the same SD card, and then you can just, when you boot up, pick which operating system you want to run. So I know it's possible for a Raspberry Pi to have multiple operating systems on it and switch between it. I just don't know if also this more elegant system. I also don't know the status of like virtualization on like a Raspberry Pi. So that, again, that could be a very dumb question.
That's my concern. So, I mean, I just briefly found a forum post. No Cube support for ARM processors. This was November of 2020. So
yeah, that's
currently
kind of what I
it
thought.
looks like probably not. And that's, as you said, probably because of the virtualization stuff. So
cool. So if you were getting excited about putting this on a Raspberry Pi, sorry guys, it's just not going to happen yet.
Yeah, and you probably wouldn't quite have the performance that you want on a Raspberry Pi, given you're going to be virtualizing lots of machines. So, should we skip along the install process now?
Yeah, so assuming that we then do the partitioning step, which takes quite some time, and go through the installation step, where would we end up after that?
Well, I'm going to just reboot this computer, this laptop, and unplug my USB drive. And now this is where it's going to get a little interesting, because my laptop has had, as happens when you try to record, my laptop just broke. So that's fun.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
So
now you're getting a black screen.
Yeah, that's fine. That's expected. So to actually get into an operating system right now, because I cannot access my boot order because this is core booted and I think it corrupted, is I think I have to do FS1. This is fun, isn't it? And then I need to.
Or are you gonna go FS check yourself?
No, I'm
You seemed mad for a second when I said that.
I don't know what you mean, and I'm worried it's an insult.
Yes, okay. I'm glad that you do know that's what I said.
I'm using the UEFI blanked
bootloader.
No, I don't know. UEFI thingy to navigate to the EFI file and execute it. rather than actually going through the graphical install,
Bro,
like,
that's
or the graphical
so
BIOS thing.
hood. I don't like that. What have you done?
I, okay, so basically, like the GUI for my BIOS for like selecting a thing seems to have just like corrupted itself overnight because why not?
Yeah, of course.
Uh, so anyway, here we are at the bit where it asks me to decrypt my drive because it's encrypted now, which is
Dandy.
Qubes in this case, because this is not my actual install, believe it or not. So in a second, we're going to boot into like the second half of the install process. So now we're here, and this is where you'd end up if you just did the last thing that we talked about, and then you get these settings, and you can do all sorts of fun stuff, like enable system and template updates over Tor anonymity network using Whonix.
Oh, that's
So
pretty
you can
sexy.
actually-
All right, so you're nice. So
Yeah,
nobody
so
will see you downloading updates. They can't fingerprint you based on your update requests. Nice.
Yeah, and you can I think that would lessen your security. So that's your actual input devices are handled through a virtual machine, specific virtual machine, as well. So you get security from somebody adding in like a keystroke injection attack, for instance. So if somebody wanted to like keystroke inject into your computer, it wouldn't really work here because they would have to actually go in and pass through the device to the VM that they wanted to use, which they need quite a bit of time at your computer to do that. So
Right, so they would have to like connect the thing and then like patch that virtual thing over to another virtual machine in order for it to
assuming they know how to use Qubes to begin with.
Yeah, maybe an arch person that's gotten overconfident.
Yeah. So
Wow, what a great menu, James. Thanks for showing us that.
what do I do now? Where'd the button go? Rut-row.
Press enter. It was worth a try. James.
This is not good, Kody.
Press maybe tab and then enter.
You're a genius.
Thank you.
The button's hidden or something. I don't know. That's never happened before, so the button must be like invisible. So somewhere there would be like a done button. We don't have that because this laptop is just not working today. So the show must go on.
Yeah.
So
all right, so it's as though we'd hit that done button and it's starting to configure the options that you've configured.
Yeah, so this is going to take a couple minutes,
Okay.
not as long as the initial bit. So do you want to talk more about Qubes? I know you do.
Of course I do.
I know you do.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the introduction section in the documentation.
Whoa, that is a crazy diagram.
Yeah, so this kind of helps to illustrate what's going on. So you have your somewhere. Where is the thing I am looking for? I don't know. It's not here.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, so you have your template virtual machines, and Fedora, Whonix, Debian, and then you have application machines. So inside of an application machine, you select a operating system, and then you select like the networking setup that you want, which we can demonstrate in a few minutes. And what you then do is you have your virtual machine, and you can go into there, do whatever you want, install stuff, and yes. So the way it works is some files are persistent, but packages aren't. So you can use a fun thing called like RC local. Yeah, so we can like demonstrate this if we have time. But what you basically do is you set up a script that installs the packages each time the thing is launched. So stuff inside your home directory will persist, but other things won't. Again, sorry, this may be a little complicated, but
The diagram's a little bit busy, but the description makes sense. So you have like one home folder, and everything else can be kind of like torn down and spun up at will, depending on what it is you want to do. Without
sorry, the home folder's on like a per VM basis, is what I mean.
Yeah, but didn't you say that there was your home folder that is the only thing that is persistent?
No. So the home folder, like the home folder or the user folders inside of each VM are persistent,
Hmm.
but like the packages for each VM are not, except some like base ones that I guess you could add your own to if you wanted to. I haven't messed with that personally. So like you get Keybase, not Keybase, KeepPass, which is a password manager. So what this is trying to illustrate is that the virtual machine is cut off from all the other networking. So the idea is you have a password manager virtual machine that stores your passwords, nothing else, and it's cut off from the internet. So it's nobody can access it basically, even if they compromise one of the other virtual machines. What are they going to do? Because they can't. I mean, unless they're elite hacksaw with 0 days on the Xen hypervisor, they're not going to break out and get your other thing.
Nice. Okay, so you're using the virtualization to just separate those processes, and also the things that can be torn down and spun up are relatively, easy to do depending on what it is you want to accomplish on a particular application.
Yeah. And the kind of last thing to talk about is that there's also disposable machines, which are very fun, because you know how we did Whonix last time?
Mhm.
In here, like we can demonstrate in a few minutes, you can spin up a disposable virtual machine of Whonix, and then after you close that, it just deletes itself.
Mhm.
And then it's gone. And it's that easy.
That seems like also really useful for people doing investigations. Like I teach during OSINT investigations where they don't want necessarily a lot of documentation of all the stuff they've been researching. They really just want to close it down and have all of it gone. So making sure they clean up all those breadcrumbs during an investigation and not have it all over their system, like that seems like something a lot of people that want to keep these things separated or not leave any loose ends when it comes to the research they've been doing, especially journalists doing sensitive investigations, would really appreciate.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, again, you can see the I/O is isolated to particular virtual machines, and that feeds into independent things, and we can show more about that in a second.
Cool. How's the install going?
It's going. I can switch back to it. So if you want to, we can talk a little bit about this particular setup, which is my baby, even though it broke a lot today.
Yeah, so what makes your setup special?
So this is a ThinkPad. Is it done? It may be done. Ooh. ThinkPad T430. But it's more special than that, Kody.
All right.
Because it's mine, and it's very unique. So the thing about ThinkPad T430 is if you actually ran out and bought one of these, I don't think you could even run Qubes on it because it doesn't actually support VTD. It's a very old laptop. So what I did, if I quickly switch back over, is I got this particular CPU, which is the only 4-core 8-thread CPU with VTD, which you need for Qubes, so memory virtualization. So that was the important thing, and also it gave me the performance bump. But the thing is, once you have a 4-core 8-thread CPU, which I think it was a bit more than what was originally in here, the cooling was not enough. So actually, do you know Dutchy?
I do. I mean, a little bit.
Yeah. So him and I work together a lot, like making these, and he actually hasn't finished his yet, even though it was like all his idea. So he's behind the curve, and this is me calling him out. But yeah. So what I then did is I was on this like crazy Discord server full of ThinkPad enthusiasts, and this one guy says, "Yeah, I kind of like put a T420 cooler in there, and it looked like it would fit." And that has more heat pipes. So I said, okay, cool. I'll do that. So I go and I get a cooler for a different ThinkPad that has like another heat pipe. And I put it in this thing. And then I realized that one doesn't have a PWM fan and this one does. So I ripped the fan off of the T420 cooler, ripped the fan off of my cooler, epoxy my fan
oh my God.
onto this cooler. put it in, and then it didn't close. So, so then I had to take out the speakers, so I don't have speakers.
You remove the speakers of your computer to fit in this extra cooling so that you could run your like fancy process. Okay, got it. So this is a Frankenstein computer. It's kind of like if someone were to take this computer that you have and attempt to do what you are doing, it would literally not work unless they dropped in like a custom processor and then perhaps took some steps to keep it cool. Up to and including removing the speakers.
I prefer unique.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did not mean to call your child a Frankenstein monster. I meant only to refer to the fact that it is impossible to purchase this on the white or probably even gray market.
Yeah, so I just did some eBaying, and I got this stuff. So, but it doesn't actually end there. This thing is nearly done, by the way. But it doesn't end there. So there's one more very special thing about this computer. It's the reason that I got the T430 specifically is because it's supported by the Coreboot project.
Mm.
So Coreboot is basically a more secure kind of BIOS and maybe bootloader environment.
Mm.
I don't know a lot about that. Dutchy again helped me a lot, so he handheld me through this part at least. But what you can do is you can disable fun things like the Intel ME engine, which bad stuff that is installed.
That's the Religion of the Spectre attack, right?
Maybe I don't know the specifics of the Spectre attack, but
I think Spectre and Meltdown were the two that were by the Intel.
It's the Intel management engine, and it's kind of like a sort of subsystem on your processor. AMD has an equivalent, but yeah. So what you can do once you've corporated it is you can essentially like neuter the Intel ME engine and all that stuff. I swear I'm not a cyber criminal. This is all just for fun. But so I've done this and I like put a few wires up in smoke. So I got very scared. I fried my motherboard because you have to like literally like take the whole thing apart, take the motherboard out and like stick wires into headers on the motherboard with like some sketchy circuit board I bought off of AliExpress hooked up to my other laptop. And it worked. Until tonight when it broke. So I probably need to reflash it now. But that's the story of my very special laptop.
Wow. See, I bought a ThinkPad, but all I did with it was took out the DVD drive and replaced it with a solid state, and I thought that I was really fancy for doing that. I see now that I could have gone much bigger.
Oh, don't worry, Kody. I'm not done with you yet.
The only thing I won't do is probably core boot again, because I had an experience on another laptop where I core booted it, or it came default with core boot, and then it just like accidentally deleted my encryption keys for the hard drive. So I ended up with a bunch of encrypted data forever, which is admittedly very, very secure, but I also cannot access it. So it's
so secure that you can't even get it yourself.
Exactly.
Perfect. Yeah. Did you get like a System 76?
No, it was a Librem laptop. The founder was very nice and even came to my school and gave it to me, and I loved it, and I used it for like 3 weeks, and then it deleted the encryption keys because of a bug. And then I found out that the bug had been there for 2 years.
Dude, do you know how expensive those things are? I would kill for one of those.
Oh, well, now I know how to incentivize you, because there's one sitting in my, still encrypted, sitting downstairs, because like, in order to like get it set up again, you have to like load their default operating system, and I'm just like, I'm just going to put Ubuntu on this because I am angry.
Yeah, so the only like problem, or the biggest problem with core booting is that the kind of open source variants are mostly very old hardware and then Chromebooks.
Mm-hmm.
So the exception to that is companies like Librem and System 76 that have some closed source elements that they use to do it on modern hardware because it's a lot harder to do.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like when they moved one of the bridges onto the processor. I don't know if that was like before I was born, basically, but it's not stuck. It's nearly done. I promise. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. That's all right. So, I guess what would be for people that are looking for a computer that would do this natively without having to make a beautiful, unique child like you have. would this run really well on just like your standard Windows computer you'd see like wherever, or could I do this on like my Mac OS system?
Yeah. So again, you can look at the hardware requirements we looked at earlier, but the website has a whole page which you should see now.
Oh,
So not
yes.
only does it say the exact features that you need, but there's also like a whole list of laptops that tell you
Oh,
like
that's great.
exactly which ones work and kind of what the deal is.
All right, so if you
So-
already have a laptop and you want to just very quickly see like if you're going to get all the benefits of this based on that hardware, then that's a great way for you to just go through and see, is it worth it for you to run Qubes on this particular piece of hardware?
Yeah, and I mean I'm sure this isn't, maybe it is, but I'm almost like certain this isn't like a full list of every laptop that supports it, because you could do fun stuff like I did, or they probably just haven't added all of them. But but yeah, as long as you meet this criteria that's right here, it should work.
How's it installing? Speaking of
It
it
is
working.
setting up networking now.
Oh.
I think we're getting close.
Is that different? It doesn't seem different. It looks the same.
It is different, I promise you. It
Okay,
was
all right.
setting up something else last time.
So another thing
think.
that Qubes is known for is its blazing speed on
It's blazing
installation.
speed. Yeah, so the reason that this is so slow, and keep in mind, we've skipped half of the install process here. There we go. So the reason this is so slow is you're not installing Debian. You are installing Debian, Fedora, Whonix Workstation, and Gateway, and then all the Xen hypervisor stuff and the Cube stuff. So
Ah, okay. So you're setting up a bunch of templates beforehand so you can launch them quickly once you're inside.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
So now I think
forget
it's
it.
rebooting.
Now you have a black void.
I do have a black void, but I have a mouse.
Oh.
So who's
Well,
the
that's
winner
new.
here?
I'm sorry, buddy. Wow. All right. Yeah, I don't
Do
even
I
have
shut
that.
it down?
So.
Do I shut it down? Will I break everything? There is a contingency. I am prepared. Oh,
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my
I'm
God.
so happy. All right, you guys. The suspense paid off.
there we go. You know what I did? I clicked. I'm a genius.
Oh wow. You wait, you mean to tell me that at any point you could have clicked?
Listen, I'm not saying that, but that's a possibility. So, here you have the Whonix setup that we saw last time. So you can either configure a bridge, disable Tor. I don't know why you do that. Why are you even running Qubes? In our case, thankfully, I live in a free country, so I can just connect to Tor without a bridge and protect all the people that do use a bridge. So just now,
Cool.
it's going to do first time setup, and in the meantime, unknown bootstrap tag. Please report this. Very fun. So I'm noticing another issue,
Oh, what's that?
and I'm beginning to realize what this is. Right. My screen, you can see the whole screen.
Yeah.
I can't.
Oh wow.
So
Alright.
my laptop's doing something funky, but if I look at like the capture card's output, this is almost certainly because I'm using the capture card. So if I connect to a network that somebody's gonna like war drive me now and find me.
we can blur out the network names. Okay, connection established.
Yeah. So now we have a Wi-Fi, and Tor worked because I connected it.
Ah.
So could you see the button on the installer when I was asking questions?
Yes. No, I couldn't. No, I couldn't. Yeah.
All right. So what should we do? What should we do first? What should we do first?
Well, now that we have the damn thing working, what
It was so easy.
You guys.
It was so
yeah.
easy. It was so easy. So let's start with, so you see here that like the pre-made ones are disposable Fedora or Whonix. So if we just whip up a Tor browser on a disposable virtual machine, that's lots of fun. And then at the same time, why don't we open our Vault? But quickly, let's show off the configuration settings. So here you can see the operating system, the networking, which okay. So this is another cool thing. This is back to, sorry for flip flopping. This is back to the Whonix setup. So what it's asking us is for the default setup, do we want to set the Tor browser slider to safest, which is a nice thing that you could forget about.
Yeah.
And Qubes handles that for you, so why not? And we have a Whonix.
Oh, can you go to hack.k? No, wait, no, not that.
Crimes.gay.
Wait, what was the...
It was crimes.
Crimes.gay. Sorry.
Yeah, you can see my really like speedy laptop right now. I think the capture card is doing fun things.
Oh, I bet.
So it works perfectly other times, guys, I promise. So if I go there, is it going to give you anything at all? Because it's not going to run JavaScript.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. So what might happen is it may not even properly redirect. Oh no, it looked like it did properly redirect.
Yeah, I think it was a PHP redirect. So I think it.
Interesting. So according to this, you are in Berlin. There's some this is known to be a Tor exit node, and there's literally no information. It says that this Mozilla Firefox, it thinks it's in Windows NT. And
not quite.
That's all we got.
Okay. So is there anything else we need to do on Whonix, or
no? I think that's it. So I mean, in this case we're getting all the benefits of Whonix that we were getting before, but we're doing it through Qubes.
Yeah. But here's the interesting thing. So as soon as I close this, if you look in the top right of the screen, it's halted. But then because this is a disposable machine, it will actually be deleted. So if we go into, sorry, I have to look like over in the corner because I can't see that part of the screen. You can see that it's gone. It's deleted. It's gone forever. Anything that you did on that machine was deleted. So yeah, back to the Vault machine, or the Vault VM that we haven't started yet. But you can see this. So we have our OS setting, our template setting, and our networking, which is none for security reasons, because you don't need internet to look at your passwords, if they're stored locally at least. It's telling us that the networking is disabled. So what I'm just going to do quickly in the applications tab is move over, keep passXC, apply this. So there's some pre-installed applications there, based on the template VM, I think. So then we can start keep pass. And this will persist. Files that you save in the home directory will persist. So you can be relatively sure, as long as your encryption doesn't break like Kody's, that your passwords won't just disappear.
Yes, which would be very important, especially if you're using like secure passwords that there's no way you're going to remember unless they're stored somewhere.
Yeah. So I don't think we should check for updates, considering that this VM doesn't have internet.
Internet, yep.
But yeah, so here's keep pass. You can use keep pass at this point. Save it, do all your stuff, keep all your passwords on this VM, and then do whatever else on the other VMs. So if we were to create a new database really quickly, just to showcase something else, do you want to make a new VM?
Me?
Yeah, do you want to make a new VM? What should we
course,
call a VM? So what I want to showcase is how you actually transfer data across.
I was going to ask if they have like a
virtual
common
machines.
clipboard, or like how you can exchange data from like the vault to like a login.
Yeah, exactly. So we have our kind of other ones over here, which they're all color coded, by the way. So the window borders are color coded, and that's apparently non-forgeable. I don't know exactly how that works, but so you can trust the border windows. So we're going to create a thing called Kody. It's going to be red because Kody's a really sketchy guy.
Thank you.
And
that's also my favorite color.
Nice. So do you want Debian or Fedora? We'll do Debian because
Debian, yeah.
Ones are Fedora.
Oh yeah.
And we'll just do default. Or do you want to be Tor routed?
Yeah, let's do Tor routed.
And I think that'll work. This may not work. I haven't tried this. I don't know if I've tried this before. So in theory, what should happen here is our traffic from Debian should route through Tor. But if that doesn't work, worst case, We can just change it after the fact, which is also pretty nice. So you're not locked in. So if we then start that, and say let's make Kody's like super secret password. What do you want your password to be, Kody? You're the man right now.
Password 123.
Perfect.
No one would suspect.
Yeah. So we've then saved that. That's saved in the password vault. Let's say we want to copy that over to the really sketchy
Dougal.com.
Kody VM.
Oh, no, wait. MyDougal.com.
MyDougal.com?
MyDougal. DOOGLE.com.
MyDougal.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe we're Tor routed right now.
Yeah, and then just log in with my password.
Is that actually? Hold on. What's your? I don't know. Are you Kody here?
Yeah.
And just actually show, because I think this will, yeah. So what we'll do is we'll go up here. We'll copy it to the kind of clipboard of this virtual machine. So they have independent clipboards too. But when you want to transfer something, the default hotkey, I think, is Control-Shift-C, and you get a notification saying it copied it. So then we Control-Shift-V on this one, and then then it's on the local clipboard to this machine, so we can Control-V.
So you do have to pass it between clipboards, but it allows you to do that.
Yeah, but it's almost better that way, because that way somebody can't like get your passwords off your clipboard if one of your unsecure VMs is compromised. Say like you compromise a disposable VM, they can't like get your stuff off of there.
That's great. That's cool.
And then, is this actually going to work? I hope not, Kody. Okay, good.
I would never allow you into my Dougal account. Get out of here.
I don't even know what my Dougal is.
Well, you're not getting into my Dougal account because my password is much better than that. But, I mean, I see how it works. That's great.
Let's see if we can go to Nike.com. We are on Tor.
Oh, hey, cool.
It worked. Okay, nice. So, yeah, so we set the networking to use Tor, and even though we aren't on Whonix right now, this won't be as secure as using Whonix or the Tor browser, because there'll be some security features that Debian doesn't have by default, at least, even though Whonix is based off of Debian, so it's similar, but not quite the same. There's a few extra things there. This will route your traffic through Tor, and presumably as well if you're using a command line from this VM.
Cool. And then as soon as you shut it down, everything that you've done in that application is just gone.
This is not a disposable one. So this will actually stay, and it will actually stay open until we tell it to stop, because it's not a disposable VM.
Okay.
So we can then tell Kody to go away, because we're done with Kody for today.
Wow.
It'll shut down. And yeah, we could do our updates if we wanted to, and update different things. So you have a nice updater that will just go through things, and we enabled the setting that will update over the Tor network. So this will take a long time, but it would update your things, and it wouldn't interrupt your existing cubes that are currently running. But once they restart, it will update them.
Great. So that's
sense.
everything then you need to be able to launch basically these virtual machine templates, either for applications or go into something a little bit more involved if you want to keep the data persistent for longer.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know how much time we have left. If you want to talk a little bit more about persistence, we can, because there's one thing I didn't mention there. But
yeah, please. We've got to go another like 10 minutes or so.
Okay, so say Kody, what's a Debian application that you really want to install every
Terminal.
time? What?
Terminal. Yeah, sure.
Is that a Debian package?
I mean, I assume so.
Like a package that you apt-get install whenever you use Debian.
NetTools.
NetTools, like that?
Yeah,
That's not how
Net-Tools.
Yeah. It's not found. Oh no. Kody, your application isn't found anywhere. Anywhere at all. But if we...
It's an older package anyway. There's also AirCrackNG. Oh wait.
Well, no,
yeah,
no,
that should
no.
be in Debian.
Yeah. Hold on. I'm smart. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So we can install it, but then if we restart the VM, it'll go away because it's a package and it's not in the kind of home directory that we're currently in, or a subdirectory of that. So the way we'd get around that is, and again, there is a page on the documentation about this. So you can see if we make a file called rc.local in /rw/config, it will run exactly what we want. So what we do is we go back to our VM here, and I think we need to use sudo here because it's probably a directory owned by root. But if we go sudo nano text editor rc local, you see we get this file here.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do is we sudo apt-get install -y. And what was the name of the package again? NetTools?
Aircrack. Oh, yeah, or NetTools.
Yeah. So now, hopefully, it should persist. If we chmod. This is important, by the way, because if you're actually following this, you'd be really confused as to why your file wasn't working, and you need sudo. So you need to chmod +x so that it can actually access it or something. Not a huge
so it makes
Linux permissions person.
executable, yeah.
Yeah. So then if we quickly stop the VM, Kody's VM, because Kody's really sketchy and we want him off our system again.
Hey.
And Kody is shut down. Kody is halted. So let's start Kody again.
So the hope here is that it executes that script as it's starting up.
Yeah, so it'll take it a second because obviously it needs to actually run it. So maybe somewhere we'll see dpkg pop up at some point, hopefully, please. Or maybe I did something wrong.
It installed it correctly when you tried running apt install net-tools, right?
Yeah, it did.
Okay, just checking.
So how would I run it? Would it just be NetTools?
No, you would type ifconfig.
If config isn't installed by default, what the heck?
Not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, I think I did something wrong.
Yeah, the other example I use is just ipcalc. But NetTools is, it's like if you don't want to switch over to IPA, then you can install NetTools and it lets you use ifconfig on a Debian system or one that's deprecated the ifconfig command. Fun fact.
Yes. So, I mean, obviously I did something wrong because I'm really intelligent, but if you actually take the time to follow the guide, it will persist the package, unlike what just happened.
Are you sure that it's just not finding NetTools? Well, I just feel like maybe it is, but oh well.
No, because it yeah. Oh, it's installed, Kody.
Yeah, okay.
It's installed already.
Oh, it was installed.
It was already installed. If config
okay, you did everything great. Every bad thing you just said about yourself, take back.
Everything worked. Everything worked. You're telling me a command that isn't in NetTools. What is in NetTools, Kody?
Just malware.
You got malware into the official Debian repository. That's impressive. We couldn't even get the Hunator in there. Gosh.
All right, so it worked. It was
Yeah.
able to install it in a persistent way. In that we gave it instructions on what we wanted it to include.
Yeah. So the other thing, if my understanding is correct, this is because like the way that the template virtual machines work is you essentially have like your base OS files and any kind of the base packages that you have installed, which you could add more to if you wanted them to be installed on all of your template or your app virtual machines, which are based on the template virtual machines. But every time you spin up a VM, it's spinning up the template VM and shoving in your personal files from your home directory, is my understanding. So then if you want packages installed, you need to tell the VM when it starts up, okay, go install these things, otherwise install them into the template virtual machine.
Got it.
So that spins up for like every Debian instance you have.
Cool. So then if you need something, if you're going to be using it often, you can make sure that it's included so you're not going through the extra step of setting it up every time.
Yeah, exactly. But again, you only have to do this once. So after you've like set up this this to run every time the VM starts, you don't need to like do it again. It'll stay there.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's we're at like 58, 59 minutes. So I think that comes in just perfectly at the end of the show. So
wonderful.
We went through pretty much everything I think you need to get started with Qubes. I mean, you're able to spin up whatever virtual machine you want. You can select whatever applications you want. And also you showed off how you could make some of these things a little bit more useful if you know what kind of tools you're going to be using or what packages you want installed. So I think some might call you the Qubes master. The
Qubes master. Thank you. I mean, besides that point there when we really thought it wasn't going to work, but yeah. I got very scared for a second, but yeah, okay. I'm glad it worked out.
Yeah, never trust computers, and especially when we're doing a demonstration, it's much more likely for this stuff to fail just because that's the way things are. But I mean, in general, this is a great way to really like compartmentalize things and make it so that if you are running a process, it has absolutely no way of contaminating another process or something really important like a password manager. So if you're ultra paranoid and you're willing to go through, some configuration, then at least this doesn't seem to be as much of a mess as Arch to install, huh? Yeah, you don't need to fiddle around with like fdisk or whatever you need to do with Arch and manual partitioning. So yeah, it's I would say it's easier to install than Arch, but obviously the usage is something to get used to. But yeah, learning curve.
It's once you get used to it, it's actually a really nice experience, especially for development, because you can switch between machines and all that fun stuff. So.
Oh. So if you guys want to see any more content on Qubes OS and you want James to explain a little bit more about the use cases or ways that we could use this really excellent operating system, make sure to let us know in the comments. Also, if you have any suggestions for other topics we could cover on the show, make sure to let us know in the comments on YouTube and also in the chat as that we are probably both in right now. James, if people want to follow you, how can they do so?
I am at JamsDev on Twitter, and my website is jams.dev, which goes to my GitHub.
Sweet. And then if you want to follow me, if you want to send any recommendations for future topics in the show, my Twitter is my full legal name, Kody Kinsey, and you can also find our other content on hack.gay. So that's all we have for you guys for today. Thanks for sticking with us and for the suggestion to cover Qubes OS, and we'll see you next time. Bye.